This is not your typical album. This is a work of art. Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to listen to Halsey's new album, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. For those of you guys that follow me on Instagram, you know that Halsey is my single greatest influence for my own songwriting and my own music. She is such a hero and an inspiration to me, and so I have been fangirling over her new album. Full disclosure, I did already listen to this. How could I not? I actually saw her IMAX movie, which was incredible, and I'm probably gonna at some point do a commentary on why Halsey is such a great inspiration to me, because she has so much to say through her music, and she really is a creative genius, and she truly allows herself to surrender to the creative forces that be and just create this really, really powerful, meaningful, and beautiful music. That's why I can't even call this music. It's so much more than that. This is a work of art, and her album was, I don't even have words. So anyway, I am so excited to listen to this album front to back with you. Two quick notes before we dive right in. First, if you are someone that wants to stay up to date on the latest music, make sure you are following my Spotify playlist, New Music You Should Care About. I hand curate it. There's 40 songs on it, and it is the best new music that came out that I think is really good and that you would love. So make sure that you follow that. Secondly, I love when people request that they want to listen to some music with me. So feel free to leave it in a comment or DM it to me on Instagram at Dano Lady Be Good. I do all the listener requests live on Instagram, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And without that, I know you were so eager to get into it, so am I. So here we go. The first song is called The Tradition. So already, I should have mentioned this earlier, but this album was actually produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who you may know and love from 9 Inch Nails. I knew going into this that it was going to be very experimental, different from the mainstream, and already we get that right away on the first few notes that are played. You can already hear their flavor into this. And the reason that we can tell that is because Halsey, for her pop music tends to stay on the pentatonic scale, which is just do, re, mi, so, la, so, mi, re, do. I am not an expert on theory, and I do know that that scale is not a major scale. It is not the pentatonic scale. There's some weird notes in there. If you are really interested in theory, especially on this album, make sure you follow my friend IICHLIWP on her YouTube channel, because I know that she'll be diving deeper into the theory behind it. That is not my expertise, but anyway, I did just want to point out that we are already using some scales that are not necessarily what you would hear in mainstream pop music. Oh, the loneliest girl in town. All she does is cry. Is it just me? I am getting total Regina Spektor vibes from this intro. I feel like, I don't know, it just sounds Regina Spektor-y to me, which, by the way, I love. Fun fact, her song Black and White was my wedding song. Not that anyone cares, but whatever. Take what you can, take what you please, don't give a damn. This is tradition. I also love the addition of the strings and the additional layers there. As we talk about in this channel all the time, it provided some contrast to the first verse. It also added an element of seriousness to me. So where the first one is just kind of setting the stage, kind of telling this story, then all of a sudden the strings they're kind of like heavy strings, and I don't know, it takes us to a little bit of a darker place, and I like that a lot. So another thing that is great to do with your verses here, Halsey started her first verse with the line, "Oh, the loneliest girl in town," and then she started the second verse, "Oh, the loneliest girl in town." Obviously, the second verse is going to take us in a different place. It's not repeated, but it is really cool. I love when artists do that. They kind of have that thread between the first and second verse so that it continues to build on each other. I also want to add that the choice of having this scale behind the melody that doesn't necessarily sound like it fits is intentional and good because it creates this feeling of discomfort and unsettledness, if that's a word. So we don't feel right listening to this. It's almost as like, you know, when you're watching a movie and you know that like something is wrong, like something's about to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. I feel like that's the vibe we're getting by having this melody in the background that just doesn't fit. Something's not right. And I love that uncomfortable feeling. I also want to add too, there's a lot of different ways that you can use repetition, and I love that Halsey chose to use repetition on the word take. So take what you want, take what you can, take what you please. So there is that element of repetition without repeating the same line exactly. So great use of repetition in this chorus. So I love the change of feel here over the bridge. Bridges are a great opportunity in the song to kind of have a point of contrast and do something different. A lot of times that's what the bridge is used for, and this is another great example of that. The harmonies are gorgeous. Love it. Okay, and I also want to mention there that Halsey had harmonies on all of those lines. Here we're expecting to have harmony on that line, and she did not. It was unison. And the purpose of that is it really forces you to pay attention to that line. Anytime that there's a change in something or that something's unexpected, it wakes us up as listeners and kind of puts a spotlight on it. So because there was that change, the harmonies were off, it's like we're just listening to her say this one line and we know that it's something very important. And it is an important line. They said that boys were boys, but they were wrong. So love the use of, I don't know if spotlighting is the right term, but that's what happened. But that's what the end result is, right? Like that one line was spotlighted and forced us to pay attention. Take what you want, take what you can. I love like the wind sounds. It's chilling. Oh, so it goes right into the next song. I love when artists do that, by the way. But what I really like this intro song. It really set the tone for the album. I almost felt like it was a narrator kind of setting the stage for what's about to come. And yeah, overall, I loved it. It's probably not a song that I would like listen to on repeat because I really think the purpose of that song was just to set the stage. But I thought that it did a fabulous job at that. So anyway, let's keep going right along. Up next, we have Bells in Santa Fe. Okay, so I just want to add that little da, 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 da. It's building this tension, if that's the right word, or anticipation. It's building this anticipation because we know something's going to come, but we're just waiting. We just hear da, 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 da. So it's almost like the listeners on the edge of their chair like, all right, are you going to go? Are you going to go? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? It's a really great stylistic choice to create a sense of anticipation for your listeners. Don't call me by my name. The bass there, I don't know, it's just so serious and it makes you feel like the song is important, and it's definitely dark. I love the darkness feeling, and I think that that's enhanced by that like low bass that came in with the vocals there. Also, that's like my favorite line. I want it like tattooed on my body. You still have that da, 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 da. So I am always fascinated by Halsey's lyrics. If you have not read her book of poetry yet, please treat yourself and buy it and do it. I'm not even that into poetry, but Halsey's poems were just unbelievably amazing. But anyway, she does this with words all the time. She has secondhand thread and a secondhand bed with a second man's head. Like, how does she do that? How does she get all these words to just sound so beautiful? Like, she just has such a way with words that she can manipulate words to have this flow to them and this repetition while also saying something powerful. It really is a gift. So I love that. You've got the repetition and the rhyming there, and it just says so much. Secondhand thread in a secondhand bed with a second man's head. Oh, she's amazing. I love her. Even through the door without a word. I also just want to add too, we still have that like that thing happening at the top. So a lot of times you'll hear something, I haven't heard it so much exactly like that before, but I have heard, like maybe a synth that's on one note that stays up there. Maybe it's a little slower, but anything that stays the same. When you have parts underneath that are moving, it creates tension and release because sometimes the parts underneath line up and sometimes they don't. And when they don't line up, it's that feeling of tension, and then when they line up again, we have this release. But for some reason, the way it's here, and I think it might have to do with the fast tempo, the I'm still feeling like anticipation in this. Like it hasn't opened up yet. So anyway, I like that feeling. Again, we're feeling some unsettled and a little bit of discomfort in the song, and I'm loving it so much. So I want to talk a little bit about her rhyme schemes as well. She uses a blend of perfect rhymes and family rhymes throughout her music, which is something I feel like a lot of songwriters should do. But here we have weekend, treason, defense, and reasons. They're not identical in their rhymes, but they're close enough that it has that flow. And I always find too that if you overdo the perfect rhymes, it can sound a little childish. And then the second part of this, we have Judas, useless, and this. So great choice of rhyme scheme there. It's A, B, 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 and there's 7 lines in this verse. Maybe I could hold you in the dark. You won't even notice me depart. That's another one there too. So she's got dark and depart. They both have the ah, but they have different endings. So that's why it's not a perfect rhyme, but they sound really nice together. They flow really nice. Again, oh, this is such a Atticus and Trent thing, but they have that scale coming down that doesn't line up with the rest of the music. And I don't know what scale it is off the top of my head. I'd have to sit down and figure it out. But because it doesn't line up, it creates that feeling of tension and unsettledness that they are definitely going for in this album. I like how it pulls back there just a little bit. I can't remember, but I think this might be the first time that we don't have that little thing happening. So there is that sense of change there. Oh, we're back. Ooh. Right there, do you hear that? Do you hear how much tension and discomfort is on that note? Right at the end of temporary. Let's listen again real quick. You know, it almost sounds like it's a wrong note, but it's not. And I just love it. I'm personally like scared to experiment with this stuff because I don't know. It's like, it's a little scary to go off the beaten path and what's tried and true and use some of these different modalities in the music. And obviously we know that Atticus and Trent are like experts at that. That's like all of 9 Inch Nails music. But anyway, I love hearing Halsey's voice and Halsey's music having this feel to it. It is really, really exciting and innovative, and I'm so happy. I'm so excited. Now, it's the end of the song. We're getting towards the end, but they're building up. And that's so interesting because usually at the end of the songs, you're building down. So I'm curious as a listener to see what are they building up to. Hear that bass, that crunchy bass building? It's almost like it's getting realer, like the monster, the demon is getting closer and something's gonna happen. It's like, I don't know, it makes you feel all the feels. obviously went right into the next song there, so I'm gonna pause it. But I love that. I love that so much. It builds up and then just cuts, and we go into something completely different. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's genius. Anyway, I really love that song. What the fuck was that? Anyway, I really love that song, and I did add that song to the new Music You Should Care About playlist because just the line, all of this is temporary, I love that so much. I started reading a little bit of Buddhism, and that's like a really big concept in Buddhism, that everything is temporary and everything that's here will one day be gone. And so on one hand, it's like sad because everything is temporary, but on the other hand, it's also very freeing. So anyway, let's keep on going on here to Easier Than Lying. Okay, so I want to point out a little bit of vocal contrast there between the first half of the verse and the second half, and she does that with the tempo and the speed of the vocals. So she's doing this very wordy, almost staccato vocals, and then she goes into a more legato, less wordy section. And so anytime that you have any type of contrast, which you could do a million different ways, it creates a point of interest for your listener, and that's exactly what Halsey did in this verse. Let's keep going. Yes, I'm totally getting some like alt rock, punk rock vibes here. A little bit emo. I love the crunchy sound. There are a few artists bringing back that distorted crunchy sound, both in the instrumentals and the vocals. We've heard it in Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. We heard it in Olivia Rodrigo. We hear it in Willow. A lot of artists are bringing back this country sound, Machine Gun Kelly, and I am here for it, okay? I was an emo kid at heart. Like, give me all the distortion, turn it up. And while we're talking about contrast, sorry, I keep stopping. This is why I love Halsey, right? There's so many amazing things that goes into her music. So while we're talking about vocal contrast, another thing that she does is through the melodies. So she has this one note melodies. One eye broken and one eye bruised because I gave myself away to you. It's almost on one note, and then it goes, you're a liar, you don't love me too, and it goes up into the higher register. So you can have contrast in your melodies as well. So great use of contrast by Halsey here. So that's a great transition point there where everything is pulled except for the drums. Transitions are always a point that's challenging for me because there's like a million things you could do, but also like, what is the right thing to do? So anyway, I love paying attention to some ideas for transitions, and this is perfect. Pull everything back except for the drums. We've got that kick keeping us anticipated, and we dive right into the chorus here. Listen, melody. Yeah. Oh, we get that pull back again. Yes! Oh, just building the anticipation with that kick. And look at that contrast there. We have these like hard, crunchy vocals, and then we're pulled back. We're into these soft, effortless vocals. So great. All this building. Each 2 lines, we're building more. And even vocally, she's starting at a piano and she's growing to a forte. She'd probably be screaming at the end of this. That's cool, that little wheel. Ooh, what a great ending there. So we have all this momentum, all this sound, and then slices it off. Really, really cool. Attention grabbing outro there. Love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, that song was amazing. All the songs are amazing. Up next we have Lilith. I know nothing about like literature, but I'm pretty sure Lilith has something to do with the devil. And the only reason I think that is because I watched Sabrina, the new Sabrina that came out, and that was the name, Lilith was the name of the devil woman in that show. But anyway, if you know literature and can confirm if Lilith has something to do with the devil, let me know in the comments, please. Okay, here's Lilith. So I don't know why. If you're a drummer, maybe you know why, but that beat is so sexy to me. It almost like has this like feel that just makes you want to dance like this. I don't know. It's just a sexy drum beat there. Guys, I don't know if I can listen to the song. It's too sexy. This song is so sexy. All right, so we've got the drums, like the bass is really sexy, and then she's just kind of like effortlessly, like lightly rapping over it, like she doesn't give a shit. Ugh. Ugh. You got me thinking that I was too mean. And I am disruptive. I've been corrupted. She is a lyrical mastermind. She's a lyrical genius. I mean, just what she does with her rhyming and her words, it just flows off the tongue in such an incredible way. If you are trying to improve your lyric writing, study her rhymes, study the number of syllables that she has in her lines. She really has such a fantastic way with words. I've been gone, 'cause I've been on this road too long. Tell me, have you noticed I get too caught up? So Halsey again is using some static melodies where it's really just staying on one note. It kind of gives it this like rap feel to it. And then also when she goes off the note, it creates some points of interest. So I totally recommend if you are trying to write melodies, play along with doing something static that stays the same, play along with going up and down the scale, and play along with jumps so you can get all the different types of melodies to mess around with as you're writing your own songs. I love that. I love how they corrupted the word corrupted. I just want to hear it again. I think there might be a term for that. Like if you're doing a melody and the word is like, I'm going up, and your melody is like, I am going up. So there's a term for that when like your lyrics match what's happening sonically, but I can't remember. Anyway, all I know is that the word corrupted is corrupted, and that's really cool. Let's listen again. Love it. I don't need no help to be destructive. Get too caught up in the moment. Just fuck things up if you notice. Also, another way that you can use repetition is exactly what Halsey did in this chorus. She has 2 lines that don't match, then 2 lines that are repetitive, 2 lines that are new, 2 lines that are repetitive. So there are a million different ways that you can use repetition, but it is a really great tool to have some familiarity in the song and create something that your listeners can like sing along to. So this is cool too. So this is the first time in the song that the drums completely dropped out. So it creates that contrast and also wakes us up as listeners and forces us to start paying attention again. You have more that you give away. Love the vocoder effect here. Oh my gosh. So it goes right into the next song. But what's really cool about that is we're waiting for a little something more because the way that she set this up. So it's the more that you give away, the more that you have, the more you give away, the more that you have, the more that you give away, the more that you have, the more that they take. And you're like waiting, right? Because there's an odd number of lines there. We're waiting for something else, but she doesn't. She just stays on it. And she holds that point of discomfort until the end of the song. It is brilliant. It is fucking brilliant. Anyway, up next we have Girl Is a Gun. Ooh! That bass just going meow is so freaking cool. I don't know. It gives this impression that like something's about to go down. Love it. I want to listen to it again. I feel lighter in the waistline with no hands. I'm not your daydream. We've got more static melodies. Halsey loves those. also love too that there wasn't a lot going on, and then when we get to Shot in the Dark, there's all these instrumentations that are added. It gives it a little energy boost, and so yeah, thought it was a cool choice. So again, we have some things happening instrumentally that don't necessarily line up sonically with the vocals. That has Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's name written all over it. They love doing that. And again, it just creates some dissonance and some points of discomfort. So I love that. Also, is anyone getting like 80s video game vibes from this? Because I am, and I'm here for it. So this is really cool. I hear it in music all the time where you drop all the instruments except for the drums. It's a really great way to have some contrast. So if you're listening to your own music and you're like, my song's a little boring, it needs some life to it, try pulling everything away except for the drums for just a little bit. And then when you add everything back in, it'll create another point of interest for your listener. I love those melodic scales happening. I'm having way too much fun. I hope you are too. So yeah, if you're ever looking for ideas to end a song, end it right on it. That's a very common ending, and I love it. But yeah, that's all I have. Every song on this album is just mwah, chef's kiss. Okay, up next we have You Asked for This. So that's another really cool intro idea. You have these drums, but they're muffled or muted, and then it opens up right when the vocals come in. I've heard that done every now and then, and it is a really, really cool intro idea. I just want to add also, something that is a really great thing that you can incorporate into your lyrics is specificity. I don't know what the word is, but make them specific. So she here talks that she's tatted like these Levi jeans, and just adding Levi adds that a detail that makes it more specific. Anyway, artists do that all the time, but sometimes when I'm writing my own lyrics, I forget to add in some specific details to make the song sound a little bit more authentic. So since we've talked about repetition so much, another use of repetition here where we are repeating every other line. I told you there's a million different ways that you can do it. I also am loving this contrast between this like typical punk rock sound in the background, but then the vocals are very legato and almost a little softer. So there's that contrast between the vocals and the instrumentals, and it creates a really unique sound. So I love that that's what they chose to do for this song. Okay, so we have a huge point of contrast there where all of a sudden we're going into the end of the song and it completely changes feel there. So yeah, it's really important that when you're writing your own music to make sure that there are points of contrast. It really does keep your listener interested from beginning to end, which is really, really hard to do. To captivate someone's attention for more than 3 minutes, like, that is very challenging. I also just want to comment on that lyric there. I want my cake on a silver platter. I want a fistful in my hands. I always feel that putting cliches in your music just as they are, 9 times out of 10 doesn't work because it sounds cliche. So sometimes it does if the song calls for it, and I have heard big artists do it correctly. But something that you can do if you want to use a cliche, just change it up just a tiny bit. So this is exactly what Halsey did here. Instead of I want my cake and eat it too. I don't even remember the real cliche. I want to have my cake and eat it too, whatever. That's the one that she's talking about here. It's I want my cake on a silver platter, I want a fistful in my hands. So she's saying the cliche without saying it, and that is a great way to avoid the problem of having too many cliches in your music. So repetition, another way you can have repetition is she has every line in this outro. It starts with either I want or I wanna, and just having that repetition as a way to start off the lines is another cool thing that you can do with it. Ooh, we had that build up just to like plateau and fizzle back down. I like that the sound's getting really muted because that's how the song started off. So yeah, I really like that one too. I think every song on this album so far has been fire and just proving how much of a genius really Halsey is. And her collaboration with Trent and Atticus is just so fucking cool. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, up next we have Darling. Really can't remember where I left my spine, carrying my body in a bag for times. So already just to start off, this song is so different than the other songs on the album so far. And so I think that as we talk about contrast, especially when you're releasing an album, if you want someone to pay attention from the beginning of the album to the end of the album, you also need contrast within your song so that it keeps your listener interested for the full 45 minutes or however long the album is. I think that this is placed really nicely. We had a lot of heavy songs, and so it feels nice to listen to something a little bit lighter. Pages of the New York Times. Again, we have some contrast in the vocals here. So we have some faster paced vocals at this higher register. Da, 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 da. And then the chorus, we have more legato vocals in a lower register. Da, 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 da. So absolutely beautiful. Love the contrast. There's a place for you. Never know the feeling of a stable home. Darling, don't you cry. I almost don't want to stop it because I'm enjoying listening to it so much, but I just wanted to call out repetition again. She has Darling, Don't You Weep, and then later, Darling, Don't You Cry. Fast toward the light, till it's time to see the light. I'll kidnap all the stars and I will keep them in your eyes. Hang on from a fishing line so I can see them anytime I like. I love that. Darling, don't you weep. And I love here too, the vocals are almost a whisper. It's so intimate. Ugh. There's a place for me. Head fast toward the light. These background vocals here, they're just adding so much beautiful color here to this beautiful song. So perfect. Only you have shown me how to love being alive. So that is another really cool way to end the song. And it ended on just the vocals and everything was pulled back. By the way, that's also a great way to start the song. Just have like the pickup especially just be on the vocals and then have all the instruments come in like a second later. So I love that that's how they chose to end the song here. Talk about intimacy. There's nothing more intimate than just you and a vocalist. Nothing else. All right, we just passed the halfway mark. Up next, we have 11:21. Already, I like, it's so interesting because we just hit the halfway mark and it almost feels like a second act here. And I just say that because this is how we started the album with just the piano and Halsey's vocals, except for the piano had like these different modality of chords in the background than what she's singing, and that's what we have again. So it's really cool to have that theme back. And I think especially when you're doing an album, it's great to have some type of themes that go through the whole thing just because it makes it more fun to listen to, right? But anyway, let's keep going. And I can't tell which ones are mine and which I agree. So I want to talk a little bit about her emphasis on the syllables here, because usually when we are talking this, if we were going to say this in a sentence, it would be, I can't tell which ones are mine. I can't tell which ones are mine, so that there's only the emphasis on those 3 words. But when you're writing music, you can change where those emphasis would fall to have a certain number of emphasized syllables that you're looking for in the song. But here, Halsey is actually choosing a really interesting emphasis pattern so that almost everything is emphasized, and it creates this, I don't know, this feeling of almost like dragging out these words and really forcing us to pay attention. So let's listen to the emphasized syllables here together. And I can't tell which ones are mine and which I created. So if we were talking that, we wouldn't emphasize those syllables, but because she wants to almost drag that out, she's emphasizing every syllable in that phrase. And so that is something that sounds really cool and is a cool thing that you can do too, especially if you really want to emphasize a certain line, or if you want to drag out a line over a section. Definitely play with those emphasized syllables. They do not always have to match what it would be in your spoken voice. Love, okay. I love how she just went up an octave there in the melody. Anytime you have a big octave jump like that, it really adds so much energy to it. And so yeah, she's like down here, da da, and now she's like da da, you know? Anyway, love it. I also think it's really interesting how she goes in and out of head voice and chest voice up on those upper registers. Sometimes I know I'm so guilty of this when I'm writing my own music. For me, like if I'm singing high, it's either belted high or head voice high, and I don't really play around with mixing the 2 together, but I definitely should, because Halsey did it here and it worked so nicely as she contrasts between her head voice and her belt voice here. I especially love the dissonance. It's just building here, and especially on that word won't, like it sounds like the tension, like something's off. It's uncomfortable. Love it. Also, as we're talking about repetition, repetition doesn't only just have to be something with words. You could repeat literally anything. And here we're kind of repeating this rhythm, but I won't die for love, but ever since I met you, you could have my heart. And then how she changes it on that last time creates that point of interest because it's different from the other 3 lines. That dissonance. We got that but building energy for us here. And now we have a return to the beginning. And it ends unresolved. I love when artists do that and they just leave it unresolved. It is like painful as a listener because you're like, wait, there should be more. But anyway, if you are trying to convey that sense of that there's something more and that, you know, we're not quite done here, definitely keep those endings unresolved. It is a really cool technique. Anyway, let's move right along to Honey. And I already know that I love this song. Again, we've got such a contrast in the vocals here. So we've got this fast rhythm, and then all of a sudden we got this, I know that I won't forget. So when you have that contrast in the rhythm there, that is really exciting and a great way to end the pre-chorus to go right into the chorus here. I love her play with words there, how she's like, she stings like she means it. She's mean and she's mine. So you're using the word mean in two different ways in one sentence, and then also using the word mine, which sounds just like mean. I just love how she plays around with words. It's so fun to listen to. Again, I love her lyrics. The back of my throat, the front of my mind, you have those opposites there. It's almost like she just has so much fun playing around with these words. Ooh, nice contrast there. So I think there's an actual term for this, but I'm just calling it the slingshot chorus here. So anytime that you pull back instruments and you like drop them out, it makes it that much more exciting when you like let go and bring all those instruments back in. And this is a classic example of slingshot chorus. I don't know what it's actually called, but that's the term I'm gonna use. As I feel like it. Contrast again. Very nice. I love that song. I love every song in this album. It's so great. Okay, let's keep going. Guys, we're almost there. Number 10, Whispers. If the song didn't start off soft enough to be a whisper, then should it really be called Whispers? And it starts with whispers. The thing in your thighs when you're lonely at night. Scroll through your phone, getting high off the light. More static melodies here. Halsey loves this type of melody. In your chest when you close the blinds. Sabotage the things you love the most. Also, we have this recurring theme of this piano playing these melodies in different modalities with Halsey's vocals over them. So love that theme is kind of happening throughout the entire album. I love that. I love the contrast in the vocals and the whispers there. It's so sexy and what's the word? Like, I don't know, unsettling, and like it feels like you're listening to a secret because it's in literal whisper. I love it. You know what? It's haunting. That's the word. It's haunting. The glimmer of light that you keep alive. But it's because of her daddy. But she was brutal and bratty. Lately, and though she hates me, I'm feeling it lately. I just love this. The vocals almost sound rapped because they're so static, and it's a really, really cool feel for this song. Right after trick her and treat her to 70 capsules. Sabotage the things I love the most. You did not want this. Again, on that whisper there, it leaves us hanging because we're expecting her to say, "You do not want this," and she just says, "You do not." So, because there were some things left unsaid, it makes us feel that there was something left unsaid. Because technically, it was, literally. Oh my god, I love this album so much, and I pre-ordered it on vinyl and it's not here yet, and I'm literally dying. I need the vinyl to get here immediately. Okay, up next we have my favorite song, at least from what I remember of from watching the movie, I Am Not a Woman, I'm a God. And by the way, make sure you subscribe because I am going to be doing a commentary on why I love Halsey called Halsey is a God, and so are you. So if that sounds interesting, do all the things. Every day I gotta smile when my phone goes. So I just wanna feel something, tell me where to go. There we go with those melodies. The melodies and different modalities. This is the theme of the album. I know it's a very Nine Inch Nails thing. So yeah, I love it. It's just so freaking cool. I have never experimented with having different modalities in my own music besides like the pentatonic scale. That's like literally all I use, as most pop artists do. But anyway, maybe I have to play around and have fun with this because I'm just loving the sound. It's subtle, but I love this technique, and I have done this in some of my own music, and it's really cool, where you're singing, she's singing down here, I am not a woman, I'm a god, and then in the background you have, I'm a god, so she's singing it an octave higher, but it's set in the back, and it's really cool having those two octaves together. And so she's adding more of that, it's building on it. I love how it builds up that energy and then pulls us right back into the second verse there. I love this kick, the duh, duh, duh. It really keeps the song moving forward and on that forward trajectory, so loving it. Love the pullback of the instruments there. We also have contrast in the vocals because for the most part she's singing down here and then she's singing up here in this bridge section here, especially with all the instruments pulled back. Love it, love it, love it. And since we've talked about repetition so much, we've actually talked about this specific type of repetition, but she did it again, so it's worth pointing it out, where every line starts with I am not a, and then fill in the blank here. Nice. Nice. That song is also on the New Music You Should Care About playlist, so make sure you follow it. All right, let's move right along here. Up next, we have The Lighthouse. Fun start. So I just want to start off by saying that the beat is really sexy here because it has that like slower like da 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 da. Da, 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 da. And when it's a little slower like that, it kind of gets this sexy feel, especially with the crunchy instrumentals in the back. Very sexy. So Halsey does this all the time, and I love it. How she, in her lyrics, she shows instead of tells, and I think that that's really great because it's this descriptive language that really brings songs to life. So here we have this descriptive language here. He was tall and mean with venom eyes, so green, wanted reconciliation, but my tongue was in my teeth. I couldn't find the floor, so I was kicking with my feet. I mean, it's so easy to be like, there's a devil on my shoulder. But look how Halsey said it, and it's so much cooler when you show instead of tell, and it really creates this picture in your mind. So yeah, I totally love it. Love this. Now, I could be totally wrong here, but my perception of the song is almost like she's the siren telling the story. And so, I don't know, it's really, really captivating to me because most of the times we hear like themes like that, it's from the other perspective. So I like that it's from a perspective of a siren. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know, you tell me what your thoughts are in the comments section. All right, let's keep going. Should teach a man to mess with me. And a little piece of him is in a little piece of yes! There is a lighthouse in the... So yeah, again, we have this. When you pull back the instruments, it highlights and puts a spotlight on the vocals there. So if you want to highlight a specific lyric in your song, consider trying that out. Ooh, very cool change of pace here. It's slower, we've got less instruments, it's not crunchy. no drums. And another cool thing about that too is you do want to keep your listeners guessing. You want to keep your listeners guessing because otherwise it gets boring. If they know exactly what's going to happen, why would the song be interesting to them? So when you have a song that changes pace like this, it really does captivate your listeners, because I'm sitting here being like, where is she going with the song? Like, I literally have no idea. So anyway, it's got my attention, I can tell you that. I love the build up here. The dynamics are getting louder. And there's repetition in this line. There's just this one line being repeated and the waves come crashing down. But each time it's said, there's a little bit more added onto it. It's continually building, so each one is different than the one before. I love that. It just like cuts us off at the end there. And that's really cool too, because I wasn't expecting it to end right there. So because it caught me off guard and I was surprised, it was a point of interest for me as a listener. With that, we are on the last song here. I do know that there are apparently 2 more songs on the deluxe version. I don't have that. I'm listening on Spotify. I don't have that. My vinyl didn't come in yet. But anyway, before we dive right in, I just want to say, if you've made it this far in this video, mwah, thank you. I love you so, so much. Thank you so much for enjoying some amazing Halsey music with me. If you want to nerd out over Halsey more, please DM me on Instagram at Dano Lady Be Good. I will talk about Halsey all day long, and make sure that you like and subscribe. I know that you're sick of YouTubers saying that, but it really does help grow this channel. Please, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear some insights, some things that I missed. Tell me in the comments. Be a part of the discussion. And with that, I know you are dying to hear this last song here. I have no idea how to say it. I don't know what this word is. It does not look English to me. You know what? Let's Google it. Let's Google it. Bernie. Okay, so it's Arabic, and it's a declaration of one's hope that they'll die before another person because of how unbearable it would be to live without them. Whoa, I'm so glad I Googled that. That is so interesting. Wow, that's really cool. So let me see if I can get a pronunciation here.
Ya Bernie.
So there we go. Here's Ya Bernie.
I get undertones of sadness.
So I know we talked about this a little bit because a song had ended this way, but we were talking about how you could also use it as an intro where you just have the vocals and the instruments come on later. So Halsey, of course, knows that and started this song that way.
I get undertones of sadness when I think about things I never and I forgot to tell you how. I love the way my eyes make yours look green too.
So a few things here. First, I love that the verse is very long. So when we're talking about song structure, a lot of times you can have like your standard pop formula of like 8 bars in the verse, then 8 bars in the chorus, then 8 bars in the verse, then 8 bars in the chorus, then 4 bars in the bridge. But you don't have to stick with that. Those are just guidelines and a starting point if you're not sure what structure you want for your song. So here, Halsey has a really long verse. I don't know how many bars are in there, maybe 16. But anyway, I like how she extends that there because she has a lot to say in this verse, so she's able to get it all out. Another thing that I want to mention is Halsey is trying to emphasize that last line, I love the way my eyes make yours look green too. And she did that very well in a few ways. First, she has the tempo here, and the loving needs the bleeding, and your beauty is a blessing, and I never got to tell you how. And then she pauses. So she's going, and she stops. And then she says, I love the way my eyes make yours look green too. So because there was that pause, we're like, what are you gonna say, Halsey? What are you gonna say? So that's a way that she highlighted that line. And another way she highlighted that line was by dropping out some of the other instruments, which we already talked about on this video. And I have talked about on this channel all the time because it's a very popular way to highlight a specific line. So she pulled out all the stops. So we really highlighted that line. I love the way my eyes make yours look green too. I also want to add when we're talking about this, sometimes I hear, especially amateur artists, and I'm guilty of this as well, where maybe you're doing something cool with the production without really thinking about it strategically, and you accidentally end up spotlighting a line that you don't want to. So just keep in mind, anytime you're pulling back the instruments, anytime that there's a pause and then a line, anytime you're going a certain pace and you change directions, that is going to create a spotlight on that line, and make sure that is where you want your spotlight to be. Anyway, let's keep going.
Live forever.
why the song title is what it is.
Before I bury you.
Repetition there. Great use of it.
Take me home, take my life.
And that's really interesting too. So as we're looking at the rhyme scheme here, I'm not going to go over the whole verse because it's long, but we have feeling, revealing, head instead, and then we have 3 lines: insecurity, certainty, currency. And so that all follows the same rhyme scheme. So you would think that they would be grouped together, but that's not what Halsey does. Instead, she has letting all my insecurities part of the first part. Then she has the spotlight on devour me with certainty. And then that love is just a currency takes us to the next section. So just the way that she plays with words and rhymes is so fucking cool. I would have never thought to do that in my own music. And so yeah, when you're playing with your own rhyme schemes, keep that in mind. There's so much you could do. It doesn't have to be that standard rhyme scheme all the time. So I just want to rewind and listen to that again so you can hear what I'm talking about.
Letting all my insecurity
The end of that section.
devour me
Spotlight.
with certainty.
Starting the next section.
Currency, so take my
So cool!
take me home. Take my life, take my soul away me. You know I swear I'd give you anything.
Spotlight.
I think we could live forever before I bury you.
Repeating an important line. Love it. We're just left hanging. Halsey is a god. And you are too. I'm so impressed with this album. I'm so impressed with Halsey. I have been following her since Badlands. Again, she's one of my biggest inspirations, and I have just loved watching her grow and mature as an artist. This, as I said in the beginning, this is not just any regular old album. This is a work of art. There's so much meaning and depth behind it. It is truly beautiful. It is extraordinary, and it is off the beaten path. Halsey is not following trends, she is setting them, and I just love her for it. And I'm so grateful that she poured her heart out through this music, and we're able to see the creative genius that lies inside of her. So anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. It was so much fun listening to this album with you. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. But until then, always remember to trust yourself, love yourself, be yourself. You got this. Mwah. I'll see you guys later.